everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Catalina and I'm the person behind by Catalina Designs, and in this video I want to explain you the process of the Polo T-shirt. It's not explaining the process step by step, as in step-by-step video tutorial that it's already on my channel, but getting you through the steps that I follow to design this t-shirt. A while back, or a few months ago, I did a tutorial, a video explaining the process and my creative process in making this construction of a t-shirt. We'll have to try another sample of it because that video or that first sample was actually a failure, because not a failure because while I was working on it I figured out what I need to change to get to a better design. So now it's the final thing, so the steps that I took or I follow to get to this final piece. And I'm thinking to make this video because if you are like me, I was never able to follow a tutorial step by step. So I was looking or a pattern or a written pattern. I just need the idea, because when you see a final piece, you cannot necessarily see the construction or what were the steps, which were the steps that you follow. When you see this t-shirt, you don't understand if it starts only as a photo, meaning if it starts as a top down or a bottom up, you don't know. But if someone gives you the steps, you might be able to get into the process and make the project yourself. And sometimes this is the only thing that you need. If you like to put your own input into your project, then maybe you just need those tips, those ideas, where do you need to start and where do you need to finish. So this is kind of the idea of this video, and I hope you will find it interesting. I will keep posting step-by-step video tutorials, but I'm trying to give to those people that are not really patient to watch a video tutorial step by step, to give those ideas that they need to finish a project or to make a project. So yeah, I hope that you'll find it interesting, and maybe it will be helpful even if you watch the step-by-step video tutorial. Maybe there are some things that you don't necessarily understand why I'm doing a certain thing, and maybe this video will answer your question. Okay, so the most important thing for this t-shirt is the top back panel. Is the most important because it has the most interesting things and measurements, and basically how you start this depends on how you continue the rest, including the front panels and so on. So I have to admit that I didn't make a gauge, so I didn't make a gauge swatch first for this t-shirt. So this can be wrong, but this can be also helpful if you're not a gauge person or a gauge girly. So it's important because this means that you can start whenever you want with whatever yarn you want and you have or you feel comfortable to work with. So the idea of this t-shirt and this construction is that this back panel with these increases will give us the slope shoulders, because our anatomical shape is not with straight shoulders. So doing this, we will have this nice sloped shoulder that will go around our shoulders naturally, because this with the front panel is having no seam and nothing. It basically falls over your shoulder as with as much fabric as you need, depending on your size, depending on your body construction, and so on. So I find it really really interesting and comfortable to wear this type of construction. And now, what we will need to measure. First of all, this will be the piece, the foundation of our top back panel. So this neckline width over here. So now why I didn't make a gauge swatch is because I simply chain, and I worked so many projects, and whenever I feel like it's around 23 centimeter this piece, I said, okay, I'm good to go. Although by the end of this project, I thought that maybe a better idea would have been to start with less stitches, considering the polo neckline shape. Having this neckline over here, I don't need so much opening on the neckline. But when I first designed this construction, I didn't think that I will continue with the neckline like this. So I thought that I will make maybe a round neckline. Anyways, so you need to establish the number of stitches to start with. So either you're making a gauge, either you're measuring another sweater that you have or t-shirt that you feel comfortable to work with, to wear, and this will be the starting point. And then we have increases over here. On my first sample, I was increasing 1 stitch per row, and this was wrong, because when you're picking up the stitches for the shoulders to work, first the shoulder seam that I have over here, and then the front panel, you need to work the exact number of stitches that you increased. So meaning if I'm increasing only 1 stitch per row, this means that I will need to work 1 stitch in every side row, which for half double crochet is not enough, because the half double crochet side row is a bit wider, taller, higher, and you most probably will need to have more stitches than only 1 per row. So this was the mistake that I did with my first sample, because after that, after increasing only 1 stitch per row, I needed to work more stitches into the shoulder seam, because otherwise it was looking not right. This piece was shrinking because I was working not the amount of stitches that I needed to cover the entire length. So I needed to adjust that, and while I was working on the front panel, to decrease those added stitches. So this wasn't right. In the end, you can achieve the shape that you wanted, but I think there are too many things to think of. So what I was thinking about the tension, and how many stitches will I need to work into a half double crochet side row. And I decided to work 3 stitches at every 2 rows, 2 side rows. And with this in mind, and I thought that will be enough to have enough stitches to cover the side rows that I will have over here. And with this in mind, I started to make the increases. So I increased 1 row only 1 stitch, and 1 row I increased 2 stitches, and continuing like that until I finished the top back panel. And Of course, that if you are working smaller stitches like a single crochet you might be able to work in each single crochet side row one stitch. So considering that, if you choose to have a single crochet stitch pattern for your t-shirt, this means that you might be able to increase only one stitch per row, because you will be able to work one single crochet in every single crochet side row. And why we need to work only the exact number of stitches that we increased? Imagine that we start with this neckline, yeah? So this is only the neckline. So everything we added is actually the shoulder, yeah, if I'm thinking. So these stitches that I added here, if I'm putting them like this, turning this as an watch, as a clock, this will be the shoulder. So that's why I need to work the exact number of stitches that I increased, because those stitches are the stitches for the shoulder. So now, okay, I decided that I will need to increase three stitches at every two side row. So I begin to work my top back panel. But when do I stop? So I stopped exactly when I reached the width of my bust. So bust circumference divided by 2, okay? So considering that I want to have 50 centimeters bust for this t-shirt, 100 centimeter bust for this t-shirt, then I will stop when I will get 50 centimeters. And of course, if you want to add some armpit chain over here when you will finish the back panel and then join with the front panels, of course that you can consider that. So I went with 50 centimeters because if I will add armpit stitches, I wouldn't mind to have 52 or more centimeters in circumference. So I went for 50 as reference, and I stopped increasing when my trapeze, I think is this, measured 50 centimeters. And then I went straight, so this portion over here, I went straight until I had the armhole depth. But with the armhole depth, because as you can see, if I'm going straight from here, from the neckline, from the beginning of my chain, the armhole will get smaller. And why? Because this fabric will fold and get the shape of your shoulders. So because you're not having a straight line over here, you will have approximately 4 centimeters or maybe more, 6 centimeters less for the armhole. And you need to consider that when working the straight rows, because from the standard measurements of the armhole depth, you will need to go with 4 to 6 centimeters more, depending on how wide you want your armhole to be. So I went with 23, 24 centimeters for the armhole. Considering that I have 18 centimeters for actual measurements of my armhole from shoulder to my armpit. So I added 6 centimeters more to this top back panel. Now, after reaching this top back panel, we are done with it, and we will continue working. This is the armpit over here. And from the armpit, we need now to build the front panel, and then we will join with the back panel and work in the round. And after finishing the top back panel, I worked this shoulder seam. This is just the decorative lines or rows. You can work right from the side rows. You don't need to do this decorative rows. I thought that will look beautiful and more interesting like this, and will give a neater aspect to the final project. So this is totally optional. Then after I worked the shoulder seam, and of course I worked like 3 stitches at every 2 side rows, I began with the front panels. For front panels, we are not doing anything special. So the first thing, I just worked 6 rows to lower a bit the neckline in the front. And this is straight, only 1/2 double crochet in every stitch. And then, because I wanted this polo shape neckline, I added the extra stitches that I needed over here. How many stitches are we adding? So first I decided how many stitches I would like for this ribbing over here for my polo t-shirt, and I have 6 stitches because I will have 6 rows over here, and 6 single crochet rows. And to calculate how many stitches to add on each front panel, you need to know with how many stitches you start for the neckline with, because back neckline will be the exact same thing with the front neckline, only that this will have those straight rows. Yeah, so we are over here after the straight rows that we did to lower the neckline in the front, and now we need to add this. Okay, so this can be half of the stitches of the back panel if I don't want to have this ribbing over here, or I will calculate the number of stitches for the back neckline. I had 41 minus the number of stitches that I want to have for the polo neckline t-shirt, which is 6, and I have 35 stitches. And then I divided this by 2. Of course, it's not exactly divisible by 2, but that one stitch won't affect us too much. So I had to add 17 stitches over here. If you want to go with a continuing not a polo t-shirt, but just to have a round or square or a rectangle neckline, then when you are over here, you will need to stop with one shoulder of the front panel, and then working the other one, the straight rows. And then when beginning another row, you will add the number of rows for the neckline, which is the stitches that you started with at the beginning. Okay, and now that we have this, so we are over here, and now we continue to work straight depending on the depth that we want for this neckline. And then we will start, after getting over here, we will start with the other front panel and then join by adding the 6 extra stitches, and then working the remaining number of rows that we have until the armpit. And to calculate the number of rows for the front panel, starting from here, you will need to have the same number of rows as you worked for the back panel from here up to the armpit. So this piece over here equals this piece over here, yeah? So the entire front panel. And after reaching the armpit, we are simply continue to work to the desired length in the round. Because I was working flat, this piece is over here. For the length, I turned, even if I worked and joined the rows, but I turned after each row to just to have the same aspect of the stitch pattern as on the top part. And yeah, afterwards, of course, adding all the finishing touches, finishing ribbings, and basically that was it. Okay, so this is how I designed the Polo T-shirt. I hope you'll find this video interesting. Of course, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments, and I will be happy to answer them and give more explanation about what you didn't find clear in this video. So yeah, this was the process of designing this t-shirt, from where I started, what I was thinking, which parts of my body did I measure, meaning the bust width and neckline at first and armhole. So now you can start your own polo t-shirt, or maybe you want to go with a square neck, you can do it as well. And you can use any yarn that you want, and or that you have or you feel comfortable to work with. And I think in this way it will be more pleasant to work on a project like that, knowing how to start and which are the following steps that you need to think of to finish this project. So I hope you enjoy. Thank you so much for being here with me for another video, and see you next time. Bye.